For this video, I'll be using units feet, and that's because the building is going to be fairly large. So now that we have a new file with our units at feet, let's now create a base geometry. Now for this one, I'll create a rectangle. I'll bring in a rectangle component, and let's give it some sliders. So I'll go here to 100. Let's just plug in X and Y with the 100. We could of course also change this, have a different slider for the X and the Y. Now let's get the corner points so we can not just have a rectangular building, but have something that is a little bit more dynamic. So if we took a rectangle and we exploded, we'll see that under vertices, we actually have 5. And here, technically, we're only supposed to have 4 points. So this is why I don't like to use the explode for this curve. I like to use a component called discontinuity. And this will, depending on what level you have it at by default, the rectangle will work. What it is wherever the line or polyline is discontinued, it creates a point. And now if we look at points, we have 4 points. And these points we could use to create another rectangle. So if we were to go to rectangle and create another rectangle at that point, let's bring in a slider of 50. You'll see that it creates a box at every corner. Now what happens is that since it springs from the bottom left point, it actually does not create a symmetrical building. So let's create it, make sure that this is from the center point. This way, it's all symmetrical. So we'll take this rectangle and we'll move this rectangle. In which direction? We'll try to bring in a component per vector, X, Y, Z, and we're actually going to move that object in the X and Y 50, but we're doing that in the negative direction and half, so 0.5, or divide by 2. So multiply by 0.5 or divide by 2. And we can use this as our motion to center it. So we're still previewing this one, as you can see. And we can also, if we had a different size for the X, we can do this. This way we can have different size in the X and different size in the Y. Same thing they're building here. So the reason why I like to start with basic geometry is because we can always further develop this once we have the basic form. What I mean is, we'll take this, we'll also take this rectangle, and we'll bring them together. So let's go to region, union, and we'll union both this rectangle and this geometry. As you can see, we don't have them together until we flatten the input. This will give us the overall outside form, including all those rectangles. Now we can disable the preview on all this and see that playing with the parameters here. So let's change it back to 50, back to 100. Now we can change. Well, the other thing we could do is we can even round off the edges of this. You can go to fillet and plug this output into the radius, and we'll bring in a slider. This way, if we wanted to, we can also further smooth out the form here. So with this, let's create the walls. I'll take this and I'll offset surface. I'll take this curve, offset that surface, and actually that's incorrect. It's offset curve because we want to offset this curve, and we can say 0.5, or actually let's do this, 2.5. And as you can see, it offsets it to the outside, which is fine, but you can also change it to offset to the inside. So that's something that we can do here if you wanted to do that. So let's go to the next point, which is going to be to take these two and create a plane right here. So let's go to boundary surfaces, and we can plug in both this one and this one, holding down shift. Then I'll flatten the input, and this will give me a surface that's fully parametric still. Awesome. Now let's take this and extrude it out. So let's go to extrude surface, and this surface will extrude in the Z direction. So I'll double click here, go to unit Z, and change the factor to 12 or more. You know? So we can use 10 or 15-foot walls. And of course, if that is too large of a building, we can always come in. Now there will be a point in which the building will kind of come together like this. So there are some other cool things that it can do. And that's just how it all comes together. We can have a building that is like this. And ultimately, what we want to do is have openings at each one of these. We could also take this and kind of twist and array it. So this is one way, kind of extruding it out. But if we wanted to, we could also take this surface and, or not even that surface, it would be this one. So let's take all of this, disable preview, and we'll take this region and we'll move and rotate vertically. So we can move this form in the Z direction. We'll make sure to bring in a series component so we can create a set of copies. We'll create 10 copies, stepping 15 feet in between. And we can do a series of rotation. So we can rotate these in series using 10 as our max number, our angle being degrees, and our step being the number of degrees rotation every step. It's also going to ask us for the location of the center, so we can bring in an area component for this and change the location of the center point. So let's disable preview on everything, and let's also decrease our step amount. Now we can change and extrude. So now we can plug in all of these and offset them. and extrude them. And of course, we haven't changed our fillet, which we can, to further smooth out the form. So if our max number is 10, you can always change this. Something more like 25, so you can get more of like that twist look. And we could change the directionality both in the X, right? Make it more like and in top view, getting something, right? When we do like a step iteration, we're going to get some geometrical patterns showing up in top view. So this is kind of the basics of getting that going. There are definitely more steps that we can take for creating openings, for creating outside skins and things like that. But for now, this will conclude the tutorial. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know. I'll have this in the YouTube portion of my website. So thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you like the content, and I hope to see you next time.